50. This wouldn't have been possible without you, the Wolfpack audience. Here is the Big 50.
I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf, for A World Gone Mad. Thank you for joining me. Yes, here we are. The Big 50th episode. Like I said last episode, that 50 is a milestone in the podcasting world because over 90% of podcasts never make it past episode number 20. So again, thank you to all the loyal listeners and supporters of the Wolfpack audience. Here's to 50 more episodes. I hope everyone had a great New Year's and you're starting 2025 in a better frame of mind considering how 2024 ended so badly in regards to politics. I'm going to be doing things differently in the next week or so, and I will tell you about that in a little while. But let's dive right in, discuss some things that are happening today. Of course, today was the day when Congress certified Donald Trump's election to the presidency. This was a sad day for me, watching Congress certify the election. I was watching Kamala Harris and Mike Johnson standing on the dais, talking before the certification back and forth. I wanted to be a fly on the wall to hear what they were saying. It was very animated with hands and eyes, and they were looking at each other. And all I could imagine was Mike Johnson saying, "Hey, thanks for being here. You know how politics sucks. This is difficult." And Kamala saying, "Yeah, I was almost president." And Mike says, "Hey, I'm lucky to have my Speaker of the House job." Well, these people are coming in, so we'll have to pretend that we agree with them on a lot of things, even though we don't. I mean, that's my voices inside their mouths, what they were saying. It was kind of interesting to extrapolate that. And again, that's not what they said, but it would have been fun to hear what they were saying. The reality of all of this was that I was left with a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. And those of you who watched, what a difficult, harsh situation for Kamala Harris to go through this in her, duty as vice president to certify the election. Now, Congress certified Trump's victory, but now he will have to govern. And one senior advisor said, Trump's mindset right now is pure vindication. So the moment is rapidly approaching where Trump is in charge again. We'll see early on day one what Trump will do. We will see the reality of what is to come. I'm sure we can all agree this is not going to be pretty. You could send me your thoughts on what you think is the most damaging thing coming up in this first 90 days that has you extremely worried. What are the one or two things that personally concern you about what Donald Trump and the Republicans can do that would affect you and your family? As always, you could text me on the app, some of the apps you're listening on, to the podcast. So you could stop the podcast, text, and then continue listening. Or you could send an email to me at wolfpacklistener@gmail.com. WOLFPACK listener@gmail. And again, I ask you, especially on the texts, please leave your first name, where you're listening from, and your comments. That helps me tremendously. A couple of you are doing that. Some of you, no big deal, but you forget you're just putting a comment. I just like to know who I'm reading about and what your comments are. Now, in other news, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation. Now, Trudeau was the leader of the Liberal Party for 11 years and Prime Minister for 9. He was facing a mounting set of crises, from Donald Trump's tariff threats to the resignation of key allies and disastrous opinion polls. His resignation could be seen as choosing to jump before he's pushed ahead of a general election to be held later this year that he was widely expected to lose. Trudeau said, "I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its new leader. The 53-year-old leader told reporters at a news conference in Ottawa on Monday. Trudeau added that he has one regret: failing to reform Canada's election process ahead of a general election expected this fall. If I have one regret, particularly as we approach the election, well, probably many regrets that I will think of, Trudeau said. But I do wish we'd been able to change the way we elect our governments in this country so that people could simply choose a second choice or a third choice on the same ballot. We feel the same thing in the United States. We wish the Electoral College went away, and it would just be by popular vote only. That's never going to happen unless the Democrats get in charge in all the houses and the presidency. Now, while this is all going on, Donald Trump still pushes the idea of the United States and Canada merging, for lack of a better phrase. So we're trying to get an idea of Trump. Has he changed? Will he change in a second term, this time in office? Well, here's an indication if he'll do things differently. Trump is stating more BS with the claim that President Biden's administration is making the transition extremely difficult for him. Listen to these comments from Donald Delusional himself and see what you think.
They'll do everything they can to make it as difficult as possible. You know, they talk about a transition. They're always saying, oh, no, we want to have a smooth transition from party to party, of government. Well, they're making it really difficult. They're throwing everything they can in the way.
However, Susie Wiles, Trump's incoming chief of staff, says differently than what Donald just stated. She said everything is going smoothly. Basically, she conveyed that the Biden administration is making things easy. So has anything really changed? Of course not. Trump is Trump, and this is the tip of the iceberg that this country and the citizens will have to deal with on a daily, if not hourly basis from Donald. It continues to be sad that a grown man who is 78 years old has to act like a child on a day-to-day basis in order to function. The soon-to-be leader of the free world, the most powerful man in the world, and this is what 70 million plus people have elected. And to add more to the circus that is in town, and soon to be running the asylum, lawyers for Donald Trump have reviewed a draft of Special Counsel Jack Smith's final report related to federal investigations into the president-elect and are threatening legal action if he releases it, according to a letter included in court filings from Trump's former co-defendants filed this Monday night. So basically, let's rewrite history. Let's stop the American people from knowing what really happened, just like the Republicans are trying to do this about January 6th and the insurrection. Donald Trump and his party are corrupt. They'll do anything in their power to change the course of reality. You and I know this is coming again, repetitively, on a daily, maybe hourly basis. And then we have to be aware, not get upset each day about this, and not let this get us down. Right now we're in retreat as Democrats. We're trying our best to dump water out of the boat that's sinking. We almost have to, and I hate to say this, we almost have to take it. And as the Republicans and Donald, continually dish it out, we have to grit our teeth and still watch out for ourselves and family, and still care about our country and democracy. 2 weeks to go before we see major things happening right at the start of the gun, so to speak, on what Trump plans to do in his first 24 hours. I'm sure we'll all need a stiff drink or at least a hug from someone, but garbage is coming down the hill, folks. Make no mistake about that. To firm up some things, I said that last episode and earlier this episode at the start, I will be going to a 3 times a week basis with the podcast. Those of you that follow regularly, I thank you for doing that. And if those who listen every now and then wish to become a regular, I would appreciate that. So the 3 episodes I'm going to be going to are going to be basically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Some of you will basically hear it Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But I'm going to try doing that hopefully by next week. This week will be a 1-week only episode like normal. And next week, hopefully, like I said, in the next following week, I'm going to go to 3 times a week. I'm also trying to find a different venue than Facebook where all of us can gather, because Facebook is blocking posts between us. And that's just not right as far as freedom of speech goes. I have the one last thing I want to let everyone know, which is obvious, but I'm going to be doing everything in my power to grow the listening audience tenfold. And how you, the listener, can help me, please share with 3 other people you haven't shared the links from this episode and other podcast episodes too. Engage with those new people, please. Encourage them to listen. If all of you can do that for me, I could easily triple the audience very quickly. And I'll throw this out, that if any of you would like to ask me a question about something personal or news related, and you want to find out what my opinion or where I stand on that issue, I'd be more than glad to answer your question. So if you have a general question, you would like me to air it on the show, and I'll say it's from you, and ask the listening audience, maybe we have a poll or something that you have, we can ask the listening audience, so come up with a question for them. I'll mention it, and we'll see what everyone's opinion is on your question. So until next week, this is A World Gone Mad. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. Please, stay hopeful.